Staging a fair in a downtown area, especially a historic downtown area, can have its own challenges and benefits. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Festival Soup, the podcast for festival, fair, and rodeo professionals. Join your host, Mike Baxter, a certified festival and event executive, as he brings you interviews from industry leaders, expert advice, and the latest updates from the world of fun-filled events. Whether you're working on a startup or managing an established, long-running event, Festival Soup has the ingredients for success.
Welcome to Festival Soup. Today we're going to be talking about staging a festival in a historic downtown setting and some of the challenges and the advantages of doing that. My guest today is Kelly Augustine of the Nacogdoches Chamber of Commerce and the Texas Blueberry Festival. Welcome.
Hey, good to be here.
I'm so glad you could make it. And, we've worked together on several events. And so let's start with, give me a little history on the Texas Blueberry Festival.
I love the story because it's a true example of a few people coming together, realizing that we had something to showcase here in this community, and they made it happen. So it was a husband-wife couple that spearheaded the effort, doctors Patsy and Leon Hallman. And late in the 80s, they decided we really needed to showcase some things here in Nacogdoches, such as we are at the time, the number one blueberry producing county in the state of Texas. 2, we have a beautiful historic downtown district. And 3, they wanted something that would be open to everyone, free of charge, anybody could come and enjoy. So with those things in mind, a clear vision, they were able to put together a fantastic festival that has grown into the Texas State Blueberry Festival. We are very proud to host it here in Nacogdoches.
And this coming year is going to be a big anniversary.
Yes, it'll be the 35th, correct?
Yeah.
Correct. I heard that the 35th year is actually blueberry, so we're ready.
It's not diamonds, it's not gold, it's blueberries, right?
Blueberry.
Okay, well, I'll have to keep that in mind. So the festival today, though, has really grown into a big event. You cover 4 or 5 blocks downtown or more, and then next to it is acres and acres and acres of parkland at the festival park. So can you just give everybody an idea of just some of the things that take place at the event every year now?
Sure. And, it's a partnership with our city. We have to work with both the city and TxDOT to shut down the streets. We actually, put up barricades, safety concerns to do that so that we have this really nice large footprint. It is defined by the downtown streets, of course. With blueberry being, the featured fruit, we're going to have a lot of food activities. There's going to be a sweet shop. There's going to be fresh blueberries for sale right there on the brick streets. People actually will drive down to Nacogdoches just to stand in line for their blueberry pancakes. We have baking competitions, we have food demonstrations, cooking demonstrations. So, there's a lot of that, but then you're also going to see some things for special interest like the car show or the pet parade, things that most anyone would enjoy seeing, whether they're a longtime enthusiast or they just want to walk through the downtown streets for the day.
Yeah, the pancake eating, from the Kiwanis Club, and the blueberry pie eating contest, face in the pie. I mean, those two are just my favorites of the event.
They become tradition for a lot of families. And, we have a photo op with our presenting sponsor who has a classic, beautiful F1 truck that now we're seeing people bring their kids because every year as the kids get older, they're taking their picture in front of that truck. So it's just neat, the things we can offer. Most of that's free of charge.
Yeah, that's great. So let's talk about some of the advantages and challenges of holding a downtown event, especially in a historic area. I know there's several issues that you and I have talked about and we'll address those later. But just give us some ideas of things that you have to consider.
The good news is it's a beautiful setting. It's charming. It's unique. We have a lot of space, but we do have to deal with some challenges. And, I mentioned shutting down the streets. That is a thing. We have to do that, and there's a process to that. But overall, I would say even the downtown shops have come to embrace this festival because of the traffic that it pulls in. So it's good for our downtown shopping. Another plus is we do have that festival park nearby. But again, communicating all the fun activities going on in that park, that can be a challenge in itself as well.
Yeah. Well, I know the event is not only to provide entertainment, but it's also to provide the city with awareness to potential tourists. They're coming into town for the first time, and hopefully they'll come back in the weeks following the event and spend more time there and spend time in the hotels and eat in the restaurants and things like that as well.
Oh, yeah. And, it's great that you bring that up because we consider this festival, because it always is the second Saturday in June, as the kickoff to summer. So it's kind of neat when we can start promoting our event early in the spring, early in the year, and people can start thinking about, well, that's how I'm going to start the summer this year. We're going to head to Nacogdoches, do the festival, and then fun from there.
Yeah, I know that you've got a lot of community support, be it the churches or the service clubs and the college, for example. So can you tell everybody about that?
It really is a true community effort. It's a lot of nonprofits get involved. You mentioned the Kiwanis Club. They use this as their fundraiser, and we have other nonprofits that do that as well, which is nice because those events become turnkey. Their organizations take over and make it happen. So as a chamber staff person, we aren't out there running every event. So it just takes a lot of good coordination. We also have some private businesses, for-profit businesses, that have seen this as a great opportunity to show their community involvement, even get their employees involved, run the events or work the booths, do the competitions, wear their branding and promote their business, as well as be a part of the day's activities.
Yeah, and speaking of the Kiwanis Club, a lot of events may not realize that when you're using a group like Kiwanis, that they then have their high school organization, the Key Club, comes in and helps them with this pancake breakfast. And other organizations in your community can do the same thing in anybody's community to help with their festival.
Oh, yeah. And, it's an opportunity for elected officials to get involved. Of course, mayor, city council, those locals, but we've also had U.S. Congressman Sessions come to our festival to flip those blueberry pancakes. So, it might attract more people than you realize when you have those kind of fun activities happening in your community.
Yeah, one of the things that's really nice about the downtown area there is because of how old the community is, the streets are really wide compared to a lot of places that I've been to. So even when you've got the vendors on either side of the street, you've got plenty of walking room, down the middle, which does fill up. It fills up with attendees coming in. Yeah,
we have our peak morning times, of course, where you're shoulder to shoulder. We're actually exploring some ideas after your consulting advice to maybe stretch some things out. We don't want to keep people out in the afternoon in the heat, without some rest and comfort, but we might want to do things later in the afternoon that will keep interest in the day's activities.
Yeah, something for other folks to consider as well. You mentioned earlier that, there are brick pavers is what the streets are in the downtown area. So does that ever cause any kind of problem? And I don't mean with trip hazards, but like the heat and things like that. I know for example, the pet parade, the pavers have caused little issues there. So is there an advantage to having that other than the look versus, having asphalt or concrete streets?
Yeah, obviously and anyone can go to our Texas Blueberry Festival Facebook page and read all the public comments. We pretty much keep that open for folks to interact. There were some concerns with the pet parade, even though it's held at 10 a.m., that those brick streets are still pretty warm on those paws. So we are looking to move that more into the festival park, maybe doing something more on Friday evening before the Saturday festival. But I would say the brick streets just lend magic to this event and to our downtown. Yeah. I wouldn't trade them for anything. Right. It's just a part of our history. It's a part of our town. It's used in a lot of the artwork when you see things branded with Nacogdoches. So, yeah, Mike, we're going to keep those brick streets.
I would hope so. Yeah, between the streets, the brick facades, the buildings, and just the entire ambiance, the murals that are now the mural project in Nacogdoches and downtown it's amazing. You've done a great job down there.
Well, we have a lot of people that care about the culture of this area and the beginnings of our town, as well as the history of this area. So, we keep talking about the brick streets, the historic, the facades, the renovations, the things that are going on here. It does lend itself to some challenges, though. Even though the street's wide, it's hard to mount or post or stake. So signage is usually a challenge, helping with directions or information. Even though we have an information tent right there in the central location of the festival or the heart of the festival, just making sure that people understand where things are happening and when they're happening can be a problem when we can't get that signage up high. If you put something down low, these thousands of people are just going to be covering it up. Nobody's really going to notice it.
Yeah. Over the years, how has the festival managed the use of generators for vendors? I know that some places have installed, special electrical hookups that are out of the way, and others are still using generators. So, how does the Blueberry Festival deal with that?
Well, that's a wonderful point that you're bringing up. If you're on our brick streets, you're not using a generator. Because of our city, we do have adequate electric power available. Those sources are available throughout our downtown streets and even in our city parking lot, which allows some use there. Now, we do have to monitor it, so we make sure we don't overload. There are some generators down in the park. Again, we have much more space. There's green space. There's trees. There's, ability to absorb that sound, because if you've ever been around a generator long enough, it can really start to hurt your head. And
Absolutely.
we realize that sound ambiance, I don't know if that's the right phrase to use. You probably know this better than I do. It affects people's enjoyment of an event. So if we have pleasant sounds around us, then it's going to keep people happier, people longer in that area. We know that, nice music, fitting music that's appropriate for what we're doing can actually add to their experience.
Yeah, that's great. Hey, this is a place where we're going to take a real quick break, and we'll be right back after this message.
Ready to elevate your event to the next level? Partner with Certified Festival and Events Executive Mike Baxter and Texas Festival and Tourism Consulting to transform your festival or fair into an unforgettable experience. With a track record of success at renowned events like the Midland County Fair, the Texas Blueberry Festival, the McAllen Holiday Parade, the Lubbock Arts Festival, the Texas Crab Festival, and the Great Texas Mosquito Festival, Mike brings unparalleled expertise to your event planning and execution. From event evaluation and development to strategic marketing, public relations, and award-winning photography, Mike is your go-to consultant for making your event shine. Don't miss out on the opportunity to work with one of the best in the business. Mike Baxter is former chairman and longtime member of the Texas Festivals and Events Association and a member of the Texas Association of Fairs and Events. Call or text Mike Baxter today at 281-222-4775 or email mike@txfestconsultant.com. Let's make your next event a standout success.
All right, we're back with Kelly Augustine from Nacogdoches, the Texas State Blueberry Festival, and we're talking downtown festivals today. So let's talk about how you involve the downtown merchants, the shops and restaurants in this event.
Prep and information sharing is key for that, at least in our town. We have a very organized downtown merchant group, thanks to the downtown manager we have. They meet every other month. She gives us an opportunity to come in early in the year and start talking about the festival. We want to work with the merchants. The challenges would be we're going to line those streets with vendors. Those vendors are going to have canopies. They're going to have signage. We want to be sensitive to the downtown merchants that want to show off their entrances into their shops. So what we do is we allow them to reserve a 10 by 10 foot space in front of their business free of charge. And that way we can lay out our vendors knowing that they want to keep that entryway into their business clear. Or they could put out something else in the street in that area if they want to. It's up to them.
Well, one thing I've noticed too is that you've done a very good job of keeping things off the sidewalks in front of the merchants. So by putting the vendors down in the street, then don't allow them to put their stock up on the sidewalks. It's very easy for folks to walk along behind the vendors, yet still enter the different shops along the main drag.
It's good for safety too, for people to be able to move around easily.
Yeah. One of the challenges, I know you and I've talked about this for 2 years that I've worked with you, is hanging banners and signs from the old buildings and things. It's it's a very challenging situation.
Yes, it's something we talk about a lot because, again, line of sight. If you're below 6 foot with a banner or a sign, then it's just not going to be seen. We have to get it up. Well, we have historic buildings registered that very picky about what is attached to that building. We are restricted by that. There's not really a place to stake or post things because of our beautiful brick streets. So you and I talked about maybe there are some freestanding, what do you call those, forms that we could use possibly to get things up high so people can see where things are happening and what's happening and sponsors and all those good things that we want them to be aware of.
One of the things that you do have, though, that's lucky for you are some of these the balcony type things that are up high in the second and third story windows along the main festival streets. So there was an opportunity in a couple of cases this year to actually hang some things up there. So that was good.
We appreciate those. Yes, we appreciate the property owners that allow us to do that, and they do welcome it. So we it's a partnership, most definitely.
Being a downtown setting, is parking for vendors and guests a big problem for you? I know there's a lot of area, but that also means there's a lot of walking that these folks have to endure.
Yes. With the downtown area being larger than our festival footprint, there are areas that people know Nacogdoches where they can park. We have discussed shuttling. That might be something new that we can do in the future, and that would be a wonderful addition to our festival. The vendor parking, though, now that's a whole nother story. So we usually have around 200 or so vendors that come into our festival. We start bringing them in that morning. They're able to drive their trailer, their vehicle into the street, set up, and we want them as quickly as possible to get that vehicle and trailer down to our soccer fields, which is about 2 to 3 blocks away from the festival grounds. And then we have shuttles, which are golf carts, running back and forth to pick them up from the soccer field parking lot and getting them back to the downtown festival grounds where their vendor space is. Yeah. And guess what, Mike? We find sponsors that want to be the shuttle sponsor, so they can actually ride in the shuttle and talk to the vendor, or to have the signage there at least, and maybe a brochure that the driver can hand off.
That's great. So we've talked about downtown, but we haven't talked about Festival Park that's adjacent to the downtown area, and there's a lot of activity goes on down there. So can you fill folks in on what they might see down there?
Sure. It's a natural setting for the fun kids activities, of course, with the petting zoo and a huge inflatable bounce park. We've had things in the past there that, grass just is good for, like acrobatics and circus type performances. We had the car show down there. The car show folks like being kind of in their own area, as well as our washerboard competition. Those guys and gals like to be in their own little space doing their tournament with the washer pitching. So we do find good things to be down there. I think where we need to improve is getting traffic directed down there so that more people that are just there at the festival for fun know that there's more happening in the park, especially for the kids. If they have their children with them, why not take them down there and have some fun?
Sure. And this past year, you did have a carnival there.
Yes, we did. This was the first year. We've actually talked about bringing a carnival in several years now. It was nice to see that can be done successfully. The company was very respectful for the park grounds, so there wasn't any damage. They worked very well again with our city officials, so everything was handled properly. We would like to have seen a little more activity with the carnival, but maybe that was just from first year. I don't know, but it was a good draw.
Yeah. And the other things that I really like about that park is the big covered band area. If you should decide to bring live entertainment in, it's got restrooms and, a covered seating area down there as well. So, and it's got power. It's got electricity down there that came in a few years ago. So it's really good. It's a good addition to the event. Let's talk about maybe some of the growing pains over the past few years that you've experienced, because this event is going to continue getting larger. I mean, we've seen it just in the last few years. So what's it been like?
Well, I'd like to say that, everything it does seem to work out because we have such great volunteers and leadership. But whenever you keep adding and involving more people, it's just going to be natural to have some different opinions or things, on how things should be done. I think that's why it's important to keep the leadership of the chamber in view, so that we can have that one-stop place where if a decision needs to be made, we have informed folks that have been with this festival for years involved. So that's good. As far as challenges with growing pains, we're going to have to limit some things, I assume, because we have limited space, as you pointed out. One of the things we want to see with our festival is to become more blueberry, right? We want people to feel the blueberry when they walk in and just have blueberry covering them as they walk out. Maybe not literally, but at least in that sense. So, we may start thinking about really vetting vendors and making sure that they all have something blueberry in their area, whether it's an event, whether it's an information booth, whatever it may be. So I could see where as we continue to grow, we're actually going to have to get a little more picky.
Yeah.
Get it?
I understand. I get it. Yeah.
We'll see.
Speaking of picky, let's talk trash.
Yeah. Man,
Yeah.
I
So
love trash.
yeah,
Trash
tell us.
talk.
Let's talk about your waste management program.
This is something I have to say is I'm really proud. I did not do this, but I thought it was brilliant. So we have a wonderful organization, Keep Nacogdoches Beautiful. It's a nonprofit. We have great relationships with them, and they help keep our festival clean and our town clean. Well, they were battling with mainly food vendors. I'll just lay it out there. Food vendor waste, seems to outweigh everything else. And one of the former executive directors of Keep Nacogdoches Beautiful said, if you just put on your vendor application for an additional fee, and it's a nominal fee, we will take care of their trash. You'll do that? She said, yeah. I mean, we're doing it anyway, but this way we will benefit because we were asking the food vendors to take their trash with them.
Right.
Well, you can imagine what happens at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So, we have never had a food vendor balk at that additional fee. They being Keep Nacogdoches actually get a list of our food vendors and their vendor spots. So they are checking in with them regularly, and it has been amazing. Now, in addition to that, we also have them working the trash receptacles. And I don't know if you've been to several festivals in your life, right? If you've seen what I call snow cone trash cans, it just affects your experience at that event. Am I the only one? Or
No, you're right.
So, yeah, and for them to have their volunteers out walking the streets, picking it up in real time, emptying those trash cans, keeping things neat and pristine, we're better than any Hallmark movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's really one of the cleanest events I've ever seen, with no trash on the streets. Cans are emptied regularly. It's great.
And at the end of the day or the next morning when you drive through, it's beautiful.
You'd never know there was an event there.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
We can't thank them enough.
Yeah. End of last week, you got an economic impact report on how much good this event does for the community. Can you share a little of that? Maybe not necessarily specifics, but just overall?
Yeah, just the highlights. And this study was, or the data that was collected was for this Saturday. It was June 8th, 2024. This particular event brought in business sales for our city, direct sales, $742,000. Overall, total business sales for our community was over $1 million. We are just on cloud nine about that, to know how this is supporting our local businesses and impacting our community. We know that 646 jobs were supported by our event. We know that lodging actually doubled from last year, which was kind of interesting. I'd like to know a little more about what got people to stay over the weekend here in Nacogdoches. And the taxes that were collected were beefy.
Mm-hmm.
Blueberry beefy, yes. So we know that our city is going to be happy with the work that they put in. Let me tell you, they offer us so many resources, and it's just good to see the payoff. And, like you mentioned at the start of this conversation, the folks that came to the festival, or maybe they didn't come to the festival, but they saw the advertisements in their towns, they just may come back. So we might be getting more sales, more tourism dollars through this festival, to come. We might get more from that.
Yeah, because it's a free festival, so people are not paying admission to come in. So you, the city, the chamber, you're getting it's all coming back on the backside, with people coming back and sales tax as a result of that, and revenues for these different vendors, your merchants. So it's a good thing all around for the community.
Thank you. And for our sponsors.
Yes.
We're sending out this report to our sponsors because I want them to know that they're supporting something bigger than maybe that 1 day, 8-hour event.
Yeah. And you know, these folks that are staying in your hotels are not the locals necessarily. They're coming in from out of town. So that's a good thing.
Right.
They come and then they go home. So that's a good thing.
Spend their money and then go home.
That's right. That's exactly right. So is there anything we maybe did not touch on you'd like to talk about?
You know, I enjoyed working with you, Mike. You have given us a lot to talk about. We are, I would say, going back to that growing pain discussion, just having to handle some jobs differently for the next year. It's going to be a challenge for us, and we're going to come through it strong and have a better festival for it. So I would just encourage anyone, even though you might be doing something traditional and it's been good for a while, don't ever stop thinking about how it might be different or better. Serve the community better, bring a different draw. We're looking forward to it, and thanks again for your help with all of that.
Well, I appreciate it. So with that, I guess that wraps up this edition of Festival Soup. Thank you, Kelly, for being here with us, and we'll talk to you real soon. Thanks.
Thank you.
That's all for this episode of Festival Soup. We hope you enjoyed our tasty serving of festival insights and advice. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us continue to bring you the best content in the industry. For more tips, trends, and updates, visit our website at www.festivalsoup.com. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, great ingredients make for a tasty festival soup. See you next week.